Hi, welcome to the June edition of The Parish Line, a production of CGov, the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel, about the events, programs, and policies of the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury. On this month's program, we'll hear about the return of the Louisiana High School Rodeo to Calcasieu Parish. Check out a particularly nasty type of pest that our Mosquito Control Department is battling, and preview a series of public meetings to determine priorities for low-income programs in the parish. First, hurricane season has arrived. Our Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness is ready for an active season.
Well, this year we're expected to have what they would call a normal season. If you look at the numbers, it's still a pretty high number of storms that would be predicted, maybe a couple of major hurricanes. But of course, the only ones that matter to us are the ones that come here. And where we live in the world, in southwest Louisiana, we have to be prepared for hurricanes every year. It doesn't matter what the prediction is, because you never know when one's going to either start in the Gulf maybe early in the season like now, or come across the Atlantic later in the season, and then again in October back to the Gulf again. So we have to, for the next 5 months, 5.5 months, we have to be very vigilant about this issue.
Officials are urging citizens to have their plans in place now. Websites like the state of Louisiana's getagameplan.org are good places to start.
By this time of year, people should have their plans together on what to do for hurricane season. But what we really advocate is you have a plan for year-round, because other things can happen. Tornadoes, wildfires, there's a number of hazards that could create a need for you to leave your house. So first and foremost, we think is a communication plan. Let people know how to get in touch with you, where are you going, make sure that your family, your friends all know where you are. Make sure that you have some cash to bring with you, because you never know. We experienced with Gustav, a lot of people went to central Louisiana, and some of the greatest impact from Gustav was in Alexandria. So plan for the power to be out where you're going. If you take medication, make sure you have at least a couple of weeks of medicine on hand, because you may not be able to have a prescription filled when you get there. One of the things we're really excited about this year is the availability of our briefings being streamed live on our website. So if you go out of town and you have access to the internet, either through your own computer, or what we suggest is look for a public library or some other place who offers internet service, you can dial right into the briefings and see what's going on here in Calcasieu Parish in southwest Louisiana.
For official information from OHSCP in Calcasieu Parish, sign up at calcashout.com, and it will be sent to your home phone, cell phone, tablet, or computer.
We encourage people to sign up for Calcashout, which is the service that we have that allows us to deliver a text message to your phone if we have an emergency. We've also recently added a Facebook notification page. We'd like for people to follow us on that page, and we also are going to be using Twitter and another service called Nixle. All of these are just pieces of the puzzle. They add a little bit of information, and as time goes by, technology gets better, we're better able to communicate all of this information out to the public.
Hurricane season runs through the end of November, with the peak coming in early September. One of the key decisions officials prepare for each year is the call for an evacuation. Margaret Higgins reports on parish plans.
An evacuation drill was held recently to help agencies prepare for the hurricane season. Emergency Response Coordinator for the Calcasieu Parish Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, Mark Ferguson, explains.
We practice on transporting the people from one destination in the parish, from the pickup points to the Civic Center. And from the Civic Center, they're processed and sent through to a shelter, to another part of the state.
The drill included placing bands around evacuees' wrists and entering them into a computer system so family members are able to know where their loved ones are sent. Another essential part of the drill was evacuation for people with medical conditions. EMS specialist Rob Daltrell tells us more.
Annually, we test our capabilities to make sure that we can do everything that we plan to do over the year. And one of the things we tested this year was our evacuation plan, our critical special needs evacuation. And one of the things we do is we determine how many people we're going to have and what the needs are going to be, whether it be a bus or a paratransit vehicle or an ambulance. And we recently did that with an exercise at the Civic Center. In conjunction with that, we also did an exercise kind of behind the scenes of testing with our home health and hospice agencies to determine what their needs would be to evacuate their clients from their agencies. So in the same time we're doing the parish pickup point exercise at the Civic Center, we're also in the background doing another exercise with the home health agencies to determine how many people that they were going to actually have to send us. And we could do the paperwork through the internet and email and things like that to determine what their needs would be. As people come into the Civic Center, they're asked immediately, do you have any type of special needs? And we don't segregate them right then. We try to determine what those are. If they say that they have special needs, then we're going to send them to an area where they're going to be assessed by public health nurses. And they're going to determine whether they meet certain criteria to stay within our special needs shelters. If they don't, then they would automatically go into the general population shelters and be moved over into that area. But they are assessed by a nurse and to determine if they meet those needs. I want to stress to everyone now that hurricane season is upon us and getting prepared for it, you know, the majority of the people that we lose during evacuation are elderly. And we saw those statistics during Katrina. And we want to make sure that people that have health issues need to make a plan now. Most people think when they're going to go on the special needs evacuation list and go to the special needs shelters that it's going to be a hospital bed and it's going to have all these amenities that they have. No, they're going to get a cot and they're going to have some nurses and some people help to take care of them. And it's a whole lot easier for people now, especially if it's your mother, your father, elderly brother or sister, to make those plans now, to have them go to another location that is a lot safer and a lot more comfortable.
If you have a medical condition, it's advisable to sign up or update your information with SNAP, Special Needs Assistance Program, through 911. You can reach them at 439-0811. For the Parish Line, I'm Margaret Higgins.
"25 separate Southwest Louisiana agencies participated in the drill. Salt marsh mosquito populations were at an all-time high during the first part of 2012. Molly Morgan reports on efforts to combat them.
If you thought the mosquitoes were bad this past year, you weren't completely wrong. Scott Willis, director with Calcasieu Parish Mosquito Control, tells us more.
This year was quite different. It was when we got to looking at the data and everything, we realized that the populations that we collected in our traps at the beginning of the year, the number of phone calls that we received, and the mosquitoes that we were picking up in the field were higher than they were the year after the hurricane. So it was, we had to look at it a few times, and then we realized, and then we went back for 20 years and looked at the data that we've collected, and this year we had more service requests, higher mosquito populations than we've had in 20 years.
Mother Nature can play a big part in the size of mosquito populations.
When we think about a hurricane, we think that, you know, all the rainfall and the water, and, you know, you have to have water to have mosquitoes. And so you're thinking, you know, that was a contributing factor to the high populations that occurred in the spring after the hurricane. Because in the fall of the year is not really, in the winter, you know, in that fall time is not, you're ending your mosquito season, and then you had all of the salt water moves into the marsh, kills the vegetation. So you had a lot of things, kills the predators that are out there in the marsh. And so there were a lot of factors that contributed to high mosquito populations that next spring. So then we had to ask ourselves the question, well, what could have happened last year? Because last year was really a dry year. We were in a drought. And so, you know, we started thinking and looking at, you know, what took place outside that could cause mosquito populations when you have less water. So when you think about it, the salt marsh mosquitoes are floodwater mosquitoes, and the marsh area dried out completely in some areas where you could walk across. Reagan, our pilot, flying over for Cameron, said that when he was in flight, that he saw areas of the marsh that he'd never seen dry before. And floodwater mosquitoes, they lay their eggs on the soil, and then when the water rains or tides move in, then they hatch the eggs. So basically, when the water levels were not at normal and they went below normal, you ended up with more habitat for mosquitoes to lay their eggs off on the dry ground throughout the marsh all through the season. And so we're thinking that, you know, when the tides did roll in and we got the rain and stuff in the early part of the year, in that dry area of the marsh, that produced those big populations of mosquitoes that we saw in the beginning of the year.
2012 saw a marked increase in salt marsh mosquito populations when compared with previous years.
If you're looking on an average year, those first 3 months of the year, January through the end of March, we may have, like, you know, sometimes you may have 30 or 40 service requests or calls or whatever. You know, we had like 400 this year, so we were way up. And the only thing that even remotely comes close to having 400 service request calls in January through March is looking back as the spring after the hurricane moved in. And it was the same thing. Rita, you had a repeat when Gustav came through, you know, or Ike. You know, in that period, you still in that next spring, you had high populations, but they were not like what it was for Rita. But those are the only other two real high times, you know, like I think if I look, you had 350 or so, you know, after Rita. And then if you look at what happened after the 08 and 09, it was only about 100 the next year. So the only thing comes close was those times. And so it's very unusual. For us in January and in February off of Country Club Road going down Big Lake Road to and in Moss Lake areas to get out in January and February and get 100 a minute salt marsh mosquitoes landing on you in January and in February, that's very unusual. You know, it's very rare that that happens at that time of year.
Most of the problems occurred all along the southern part of the parish.
Well, most of the calls in general when you have a salt marsh outbreak will occur on the southern part of the parish. You know, if you're going on the west side, they might be from Toomey and Niblett's Bluff area. Coming back across, you're going to hit into that lower Carlos area, and then you're going to get into around the Ellender Bridge, Moss Lake, and then when you come across here, of course you're always into Timberley Terrace, Country Club, Big Lake Road, Gettings, and then as you go down, you know, follow the coast, and then sometimes you get stuck in the Bell City Hayes area, but that southern area that borders the marsh is generally where you're going to see most of those calls coming from. And salt marsh mosquitoes can move, you know, 20, 30 miles in a night, and so like sometimes when they come off in a couple of days, we'll catch them in our traps into Quincy.
The huge outbreak caused problems in the air and on the ground.
Reagan, a pilot again in March spraying for mosquitoes, said he's been spraying for 20-something years, spraying mosquitoes in Cameron and here in our parish in Calcasieu, and he said one night he was flying and he came down to spray for mosquitoes, and they just, so many mosquitoes hit the window on his airplane he couldn't see. He said it scared him. He had to go do almost an emergency landing. I got to go in, I can't see. So that many mosquitoes, he said I'd never hit that many mosquitoes before, dipping down, spraying, and doing things. And so and then Josh called from Cameron and said that there were newborn calves that were not making it through and dying because there were so many mosquitoes down in that area that, you know, they weren't surviving. And so, you know, there's a lot of little things that, you know, when we got back to looking at it, you know, that indicated that something was, you know, unusual. We thought it was people would say, oh, this is the worst I've ever seen them, you know, and by the time we got back to looking at it, they might have been telling the truth about it. You know, they were really people that had been living in certain areas for a number of years, you know, it's just like they really were bad.
For the Parish Line, I'm Molly Morgan.
You are watching The Parish Line, a production of CGov. The Calcasieu Parish Human Services Department is seeking public input on grant funding it will be receiving regarding programs geared toward low-income residents. Here's Jessica Williamson.
The Community Services Block Grant was initiated nearly 50 years ago, yet still serves the same function today, to alleviate the causes and conditions of poverty. The parish has developed and maintained services using these funds for years. The goal now is to get input from the public during community informational meetings.
The way that the program is designed, it is designed in a manner where we will be sharing with the public what we're currently using the funds for. Also, we have some new ideas on the direction that we feel that we can use the funds in some other areas, and so we definitely want to get some public input on that. And so that's mainly how the program is outlined for the meetings. So they will have the opportunity to hear what we're currently doing with the funding and what we're proposing to do with the funding, and then they can weigh in on both. And so we're expecting and hoping that they will be able to share with us that these are good programs, it's working, continue it, or this is not so good of a program, it's not really beneficial to the community, eliminate it, or even possibly that they may even give us some new ideas to say, hey, have you guys ever thought about doing this with the funding?
The funding directly affects on average between 17,000 and 18,000 Calcasieu residents annually. There are many different types of services that are funded by the block grant.
The way that the CSBG funding is allocated down to us, basically we use it to support a variety of programs. We use it to support some programs directly, and we use some of it to support some programs indirectly. So the preventive healthcare services is another area that we use CSBG funding directly, where we go into low to moderate income communities and we provide health screenings, primarily to those populations that are vulnerable to very serious health diseases, high blood pressure, cholesterol testing, vision testing, and so forth. And so we use CSBG funding directly to provide those services. Also our agency food pantry, where persons can come to any of our service locations and they can receive food boxes if they're in need of food. That's CSBG directly funded. Some of the other programs that we have that CSBG funds indirectly is our contract postal unit, our home daycare program, Food for Mothers and Children, our LAHEAP program, RSVP, Transit, and Triad.
The informational meetings begin this month and will visit different communities in the parish through August. To get more information about the upcoming meetings and the types of services provided, log on to cppj.net. For the Parish Line, I'm Jessica Williamson.
The parish will receive the funding in October of this year and will implement the services plan in July 2013. After nearly 11 years, the Louisiana Junior High and High School Rodeo has returned to Southwest Louisiana. J.P. Booth tells us more.
Well, pull up your boots and strap on your spurs because the rodeo is back in town. The Louisiana High School Rodeo Association recently held its 2012 championship right here at the Burton Complex. Cultural Affairs Coordinator Jason Barnes tells us what that meant to Southwest Louisiana.
We've recently had a great event here at Burton Coliseum and the complex in general. For the first time in about 10 or 11 years, the junior high school and the high school state rodeo finals came back to Southwest Louisiana. It was something that was a big success, not only for the competitors themselves staying here, but also for the entire community. It was very well received. A lot of people turned out, and we're really excited the fact that it's back here at the Burton Complex, and looking forward to next year's event as well, because it'll be here again next year.
A little over a year ago, there was a committee of Louisiana High School Rodeo Association members and their board who met with us and sat down and put together an initiative to try and bring back the rodeo finals to Calcasieu Parish, to Lake Charles, Louisiana. And the police jury embraced that idea and supported it. And so a presentation, a package, more or less a bid was put together to go out and solicit the event, and we were successful in getting that event, and the economic incentives that were put together and the ideas that we could put on a really fine event for the students. We're able to win the selection and bring it home, so we're very proud of that.
Last year when we received the 2-year bid for the high school rodeo, we were told by the Convention and Visitors Bureau that this would have an economic impact of about $45 million. So it's a big economic generator here for not just the Burton Complex, but for the entire Southwest Louisiana community. And that's something we're really excited about, and something that we'd like to try and explore more of, to try and see what else we can possibly bring to the Burton Complex to continue that economic generator.
They see McNeese. Those students, a lot of those kids are fixing to be college students, so they get to see that. They get to see the campus. They get to see our town, our community, and all that we do have to offer. And while many of the contestants are from the local area, they do come from all over the state, and it may be their first time to Lake Charles, and maybe their first time to see our college and all that we have to offer, our parks, our water, the entire, everything that Calcasieu Parish is about, I guess. And I feel like that's attraction. We surely will win a couple over, and they'll stay here, they'll make their homes here, and it's that kind of community growing event.
The event follows the first phase of renovations to the Burton Complex, which sees lots of improvements cosmetically to the facility.
It's really a wonderful opportunity that we have right now with the complex. It's been undergoing some cosmetic changes, as you could tell in the lobby. There's some new designs that are in there that sort of dress up the lobby as well. But more in a capital sense, there are a lot of projects that are about to take place or already underway. For instance, the lobbies and the bathrooms are totally being renovated, as well as our chocolate room. And then later this fall, there's going to be another project where they'll redo the roof and replace the skin, which is, so the building behind me, the dome behind me, all of the metal panels behind me are going to have a new color and a new look. And so that process is going to be about a 13 to 20-month process. But once it's all finished, with all of the growth that we're enjoying here at the Burton Complex, it's all going to work out very nicely and really pave the way for some big things down the road.
The police jury has undertaken an initiative to renovate throughout the facility, throughout the complex. There's been a number of changes. You could take a while to list them all, but some of the key things that were specifically put in place to attract this event was approximately 300 horse stalls were purchased and installed and set up with both water and electricity to all those so that they properly accommodate all the students and their animals. The arena itself was modified so that it would better suit the event. They have specific dimensions that they need. The camper facilities out here at the complex were the original equipment, so we essentially renovated, converted at least 40 camper or RV slots to the most modern 50-amp hookups, which accommodates the larger recreational vehicles now, and there's actually plans to do the remaining RV slots. So that was all very popular with both the participants, their families who come, and they really spend 2 weeks here participating in this particular event.
For the Parish Line, I'm J.P. Booth.
Because of the 2-year contract, the rodeo will return to Southwest Louisiana for the 2013 championship as well. 2012 marks Louisiana's 200th year of statehood, and one of Lake Charles' downtown businesses has joined in the celebration by receiving some exterior renovation.
Locally run bakery, Sweets and Treats, on the corner of Ryan and Lawrence is having a colorful addition to its south wall. Commissioned by the Louisiana Arts Council, local artist Fred Stark is painting a mural on the building in commemoration of Louisiana's 200 years of statehood.
They approached me and they had 4 areas, 3 buildings and 1 neighborhood in mind, because even though the state was celebrating its bicentennial, 200 years, our city, certain areas were celebrating 100 years of certain buildings.
While Stark was given the task of creating the concept behind the mural, the Arts Council asked that he include 4 specific Lake Charles areas.
The church, Immaculate Conception Church, the courthouse, and Central School all were rebuilt. The 2 of them were rebuilt as a result of the 1910 fire, which destroyed much of downtown Lake Charles, including all the records. And then the Central School and this neighborhood were a result of expansion into those areas.
His concept included 2 different layers demonstrating Lake Charles past and present, as well as a timeline representing Louisiana's bicentennial.
So they wanted those areas highlighted in connection with the bicentennial. So that basically that was the only assignment given, and then the rest of it was left up to me to come up with a concept that would involve or encompass that. Basically what I came up with is the state, Louisiana became a state in 1812, and of course here in Lake Charles there wasn't much. It was, it was a lake, a few settlers. It was a pretty isolated area, and but I wanted to show 1812, 1912, and then 2012. So my concept, design concept, basically the outer edges are in color and they represent the 2012 areas. And that the 4 areas that were specified to me, plus I added the Millennium Park. And there's 2 what I call pop-out areas. They're just little panels that on the side, in the middle between all the 4. And they, one has the Millennium Park project, which was completed this year, and then the downtown development that they call it Streetscape.
Also included in the mural were Stark's renditions of photographs from the McNeese archives depicting Lake Charles history. These photos were taken from the Maud Reed collection, and some depict important historical events such as the fire of 1910. The mural shows how the Lake Charles community has changed over the years, and Stark explains how community made this project possible.
It's kind of a collaborative effort, and in this case, even though I'm the artist doing it, and most of the time spent working on it by myself alone, the design end of it, the concepts, all that comes from other sources in the community. You've got government involvement, you've got tourism involvement, and so it helps promote the city here. And it gives the citizens, it actually, after I finish, it becomes part of the city and basically owned by the citizens,
For the Parish Line, I'm Jesse Freeman.
The mural is open to public viewing now and should be completed later this month. That's our Parish Line program for the month of June. Thanks for watching. For more information on any of these stories or to see the program online, visit our website at cppj.net.